AppArmor is another form of security that can be used in the terminal for Linux Ubuntu 20.04 LTS. This is a name-based mandatory access control which uses profiles in order to control the security for Linux. Before you go about using AppArmor, you want to make sure that it's actually installed on the server of use. To do that, you have to run commands using your sudo. There's two different modes of execution to use with AppArmor. Those would be complaining and or enforced. Complaining is the first level, and enforced is the second level, which is a lot more secure. Whenever you use either of those, you're going to want to make sure that you specify a direct path for the profiles that you're using. And also for profiles, you may want to install more profiles onto the server. Once you do that, then when you run the commands to see the profiles, which I will say a little bit later, then you will be able to run enforce or complain on all the profiles or specify some. Also, for AppArmor, you can create your own profiles, which is a little bit harder, and actually specify the application that you want to complain or enforce about. As far as the recommendations for AppArmor, I have installed the profiles, run sudo aa-status. That will list the profiles so you can see what's actually running and what's actually being enforced. Create custom profiles whenever need be, if the ones that are already installed and the extra packages installed do not cover what you need. And mainly put profiles in enforce mode over complaint, so you can have the highest level of security for your server on top of IP tables. For both of the servers, there's just a couple of things that you need to make sure to do for HTTPS. You're going to want to make sure you have both of the ports 443 added either to the IP tables for Linux or to Windows Firewall for Windows Server 2019. And to check that, you can run sudo nmap just on your 8.8.8.8. That's your Google. You should be able to check to see if you have 443 as a default. It's a little bit different for Windows. You have to actually download that onto the server and then run the scan on that port. You should still yield the same results. IIS, or Internet Information Services, is an extendable web server that was created by Microsoft. This is to be used for web servers on the Windows Server 2019. This is really what you use for hosting websites, services, applications. The good thing about this is all the different many features that you have that come with IIS. In order to do this, you want to make sure that you first install IIS, because it doesn't come native on the server that we're using. Once you do that, you get to choose many different packages and or features that you want to allow with that. And I'll mention a few later that will help to harden this feature for Windows. With that, you get to configure a default site, and the default site is what users will access whenever they hit your server. And that's what you can configure so they can actually hit that. As for recommendations, I would say to change the default setting because it doesn't come with anything really configured off the rip. Also, there's something called configure HTTP request filtering. You want to also patch the IIS vulnerabilities. There may be vulnerabilities in the different modules that actually come with it, so you may want to disable some of those or not select them up when you first start. Something else that I did was HTTP redirect to HTTPS. You can choose that if they If they aren't using HTTPS, whenever they do go to the web browser, as soon as they put something in, it'll automatically say that it's not secure and make them switch over to HTTPS, which is something that's very good about IIS. Apache for Linux is very popular for the main reason that it's a popular web server to host your web files or your website on the web. The reason why this is very popular is because it lets you default multiple ports, either 80 for HTTP and or 443 for HTTPS. There are many different things that come along with having Apache. You can hide your versions. You can disable directory listings, and many other different things. Some of the different technical tools that come with it is comes with modules. And with modules that come with it, you're gonna want to check those to make sure that you don't have any modules that can be attacked by through the web, since this is where you're going to be hosting your web servers. You're gonna want to make sure that you create different groups, as its users are going to be in different groups to access certain parts of the web that you're actually hosting. And Apache allows for somebody to get down to the different directories that are available, and from those directories you can restrict access to the root directory, which is the main directory where you can do all of the editing that is possible for somebody who has sudo access. Apache allows for people to set appropriate permissions. And as far as recommendations that I have for Apache, using Apache, always allow for the secure access of 443, which is HTTPS. Make sure Apache is updated. One thing that I did was make sure to update Apache. I actually went ahead and just downloaded Apache 2 to that. Disable modules that you do not need as well, because when you first download them and you check the modules, there's a lot of different modules that are already downloaded, and some may not be needed. Make sure to install mod security. This is to work as a just like a firewall for your web applications. You're gonna want to make sure that you have a firewall for your web application, especially if you're allowing users that you do not know to hit your web applications versus the users that you already do know. This is just an extra layer for your web page, as HTTPS and all that should lock it down good enough if you configure it correctly. Since we will be using HTTPS and HTTP a lot for this module, it's good to have a little debate about the differences between HTTP and HTTPS. To start off, HTTPS is the more encrypted one and the one that you should be using when you have it enabled on anything. HTTPS uses SSL to secure HTTP. So if they don't have the SSL certificate, they will not be able to access the website. HTTP uses port 80, and also HTTP uses port 443. HTTP is at the application layer, which is layer 7 on the OSI model. And HTTPS is at the transport layer, which is at layer 4 in the OSI model. For the application layer, that is where human computer interaction layer, where applications can access the network services. And for the transport layer, that is where data gets transmitted using transmission protocols, including TCP and UDP. Port 80 and port 443 are both for TCP, but for HTTPS, you get a little bit more secure. For HTTPS, something that is required is domain validation, and that is why many people love to have this enabled, because if that domain is not validated, then that user will not be able to access access that domain. What's also good about HTTPS is that if a hacker wanted to, let's say, try to hack the website versus HTTP, you see plain text, and that's easy for the hacker to actually decode it. But for HTTPS, which has that S, which stands for secure, the hacker will see a bunch of random characters. Those random characters will help to keep the hacker from getting in the site as fast as they normally would with HTTP, just like they would. Lastly, HTTPS really just helps to add an extra layer of authentication to that web server. It makes it so that whoever's accessing that website actually has the rights and/or access needed to access that website, and that's really huge. If you're hosting your own website, you want to make sure that you know who's accessing the website at all times, as if somebody wants to get in, then sensitive data can be leaked. So making sure HTTPS is always enabled over HTTP is pretty huge and should always be done.